Perfect. And once again, welcome and everybody. Thank you guys for joining us. Thank you, Lisa, for joining us for this micro lesson. They're going to be talking a little bit about how to boost sales potential with the practical use of contact segmentation on HubSpot. Really excited to have you guys here throughout the session. Please drop questions on the Q&A window, on the chat. I'll be here to moderate and chat with you guys. And Lisa, you can take the lesson from here.
Great, thank you so much. So first of all, thank you to Growth and especially to you, Rick, to invite me for this micro lesson. And welcome to everyone joining today. I'm particularly excited about this topic. I feel like this is something that resonates to a lot of us here, and we kind of deal with this pretty much every day. So let's talk a little bit about myself. So I'm Lisa, I'm 29 years old. I'm the digital marketing lead at Thalox. We are currently in Portugal, 10 minutes away from the beach, which is great. I'm a HubSpot fan as well, so I'm guessing a lot of you are as well, especially because Thalox is as well very much into the HubSpot community as a HubSpot app partner, and I love to travel. I think that's my favorite thing to do. So for today, I really want you to come with me on a journey of contact segmentation, right? And I really hope to touch all the basics on the main elements that I think are included in a contact segmentation strategy. So first, we need to always think about the data. So how do we capture the data that we are segmenting on, or we are using to segment? So that's the first thing. Next, some essentials on HubSpot contact segmentation. I'm sure I will show you some things that you already probably know, maybe others you don't know. So let's really dive a little bit more about the essentials about segmenting in HubSpot. Then nurturing leads, because that's one of the main reasons why you're segmenting in the first place. And when you're nurturing leads, you are trying to give them the right information so that they are ready to make a decision. And therefore, you have the best leads to hand off to sales. So that's like the bottom line here, especially for us marketing folks, but for everyone as well in sales, they want and they expect that from marketing. So that's what we are going to learn today. And let's start with a little bit of an introduction to contact segmentation. A lot of databases really look as the picture I have on the left. So there's a bunch of different fruits all together, mixtured. There's not really a clear concept of how to organize similar contacts with similar interests and similar characteristics into groups, right? So that's like the basis of contact segmentation. And then you kind of have that all together. The real point here and what we want to achieve is something that we have on the right, which is a concept more into having them organized. So you have to think about, okay, I have this goal, but I actually know what my contacts are, and I actually have them segmented. And I think this is the first exercise for you guys. When you think about your database, which one of these images come to your mind? Is it that it's like a good old big mess, or is this something that you have organized? You know your goals, you know what are you doing, and you know that your contacts are segmented. So that's like kind of the first thing that I will ask you to think about. And this is a good segue to the next point, which is why is it so important to segment? So for marketing, I would say that the main reason to segment is that I want to know who I'm talking to. I want to know that the message I'm writing is resonating with the right person. I want to know that I have different services, different products. I have different people with different motivations. I want to know them and I want to have them segmented. And the importance of that is so that I can target the right people with the right message at the right time. So that's like the bottom line, I think, for marketing, and that's part of the lead management process as well. But, creating as well specific workflows for each persona. So that's why I segment based on persona, and we will see that a little bit later. For sales, lead handoff to sales really relies a lot of times in segmentation. The fact that you have segmented your leads based on engagement level and all of that, we will see as well that a little bit later, enables you to segment and actually hand off the best of your leads to sales. And that's what they want for marketing. Qualifying leads as well. I mean, even though this is kind of the job of both teams, if they are aligned in a perfect world. But this is as well one of the main reasons and why is it so important. And of course, high conversions. If you need to target the right people, which are closer to make that decision and re-engage with the ones that aren't, to really trigger the conversion. And, conversion could be like a sales conversion, but in marketing, it could be other type of conversion. It could be like a download to a white paper or something like that, a webinar registration. But for that, you have to target the right people. And that's the reason why is it so important. So as I said, I want to bring you into a journey of segmentation. So first off, capturing data, then segmenting that data, then nurturing those contacts, and then handing them off to sales, right? So first off, capturing data. So with capturing data, everything starts with that, right? So without the data that you have and without having that capturing the right way, there's no way you can segment properly, right? So the best way and the most used way to actually capture the data, especially with inbound marketing, are forms. And with forms, you have to make sure always that the questions you are asking are the questions that you define with your sales team as being mandatory and relevant to qualify your leads further. Doesn't mean you have to ask them all together. And that's why you have different things as well in HubSpot to help you do that. So you can do that with progressive profiling or progressive fields, which is basically a strategy where you gradually ask questions and capture data across multiple interactions. So for instance, I have the first name, last name, and email address from someone who registered for a newsletter. Next time they are on my website, I can ask for the job title. Next time I can ask for interest or favorite product, something like that. We have as well something, or HubSpot has, which is called dependent fields. Dependent fields is really like it says, it depends on whatever you are giving as an answer or the lead is giving as an answer. So if I'm asking, what marketing automation platform do you use? And if the value they are putting in is HubSpot, based on that, I can trigger another one. So it doesn't show it all together and it's not overwhelming for the leads, right? And I can show another one like how many contacts do you have or something like that. So those are two things often used in forms to capture more and more data about your leads. So the next thing is, so this is usually where you capture explicit data, right? So there's two types of data that it's super important and mandatory, of course, essential for segmentation. It's explicit and implicit data. With explicit data is more towards the profile of the person. So demographic criteria like job title, where are they located, interests they have, company industry, so those types of criteria, right? When it comes to the job title, and I have here job title field, this is really important because by default, HubSpot provides a job title property, but it's a free text field. And with free text fields, you really have to be careful, especially when putting that in forms, because we don't want to have a bunch of different values, right? So please, if you make sure that your job title field, if you are using that to segment your data and to capture data through forms, that it's a job title field. And this is, especially for B2B, a very used criteria to segment. Then you can as well leverage hidden fields within those forms, especially for lead sources to know where those leads are coming from, right? Sales can as well qualify through calls, obviously, so or through events, and especially those are more. It could be like in the beginning of the funnel, but it's more like towards the end of the funnel, especially when sales is calling this lead and bringing more information about the profile and the readiness for sales. And also always include qualification questions. We want to know the interest of this person, right? So you can have that being asked directly in a form. You can kind of take hints about how they are engaging with certain content. And based on that, okay, they are more interested in this or that. But the content, it's really important, because you can have two very similar personas, but what is motivating them to need your product, it's a different motivation. What is triggering them, it's different. So you have to understand that. So that's super important as well. Another thing, so budget is another thing that you can ask, especially to help sales understand if this is ready for sales or not, if they have the right budget. And then data enrichment. And I really like this one because HubSpot is great with that. So we can have a lot of data based on company level. So like tech stack, industry, location, revenue, number of employees. And we can bring that with a simple workflow. You can bring that to the contact level, and then you can filter based on that. Another thing is, you can have third-party tools. One of them is LinkedIn Sales Navigator, to look for job title, time and current role. So I really like this as well, to bring more data that for some reason I can't, directly capture through forms. So when it comes to implicit data, it's all about the data which is concerning to the behavior. So the interactions that this content has with your brand. So emails, website visits, all of that. And you can have access to all of that. So on the left, I have a screenshot of some of those activities which are captured in HubSpot on the contact record. So you can have like average page views, you can have last page seen, source, all of that. Then you can use that for scorings, right? So HubSpot score is really a mixture of both explicit and implicit data, and that often is the trigger to sometimes to qualify an MQL, or it can be a trigger as well to run some nurture campaigns. But honestly, this is something especially for everyone using scoring. And looking back at the job title field, for instance, there's a lot of people relying on scoring because they think they have everything, or most of their contacts have job title, for instance. So with lead scoring, you have to be careful to make sure that the information that you are scoring on is something that you have for most of your contacts. So it might be that only 20% of your contacts have a job title or the industry field. So you have to find ways to enrich your data so this scoring is as accurate as possible. And for that, there are nowadays, and of course I'm biased talking about the Thalox engagement score, but there are integrations, and Thalox is one of them, which allows you with AI to capture all that data and to actually have a scoring which is based on accurate data. So it's never missing anything, and it's really just focusing on choosing the right things which enable you to send in engagement-based campaigns. So this is predicting the engagement. So this is much more accurate than the standard scoring, and you can have that as an integration for HubSpot. So, but those are specific implicit criteria that we should use and everyone should use when it comes to segmentation. So if you have some question about it, just drop it, and then in the end, Rick and I will think about the Q&A. So next on, you have captured your data, okay? So you have forms, you have implicit data coming into HubSpot, you have your scoring models all together. So now it's time to use that to segment. And how are you doing the segmentation inside HubSpot? There's different ways to do that. Contact list is probably the most used one because you can literally filter, everything with contact lists. Then you have AI power tools like Thalox, for instance, which are integrating to HubSpot. Then you have standard lead scoring of HubSpot score. Then you have life cycle stages. You have lead source, and you have buyer persona, right? So those three, so it's just like, I think, the most used properties or criteria to really segment, but then there's tons of them. And one thing that is important, because when it comes to contact lists, a lot of especially marketers are using contact lists to segment because they want to send emails, they want to send email campaigns. And if you have the right email, I mean, it doesn't matter if you have like the best email ever and you don't have the right people to send it to. This approach of I'm just sending to everyone, and whoever replies, and you're just burning your database because the others are not ready for that type of content, and that will not be good for you in the long run. Contact lists allows you to create really segments, as I said, based on tons of things. And I'm giving you here some examples. So on the left side, you just have job title and industry. I mean, this is just like really simple, straightforward demographic criteria, right? In the middle, I have a persona. So this is something that, I mean, I really like to use personas, but you need to make sure that every single one of your customers is assigned to a persona. That's can be implemented as well with automation, but you really need to make sure that every one of your customers is assigned to a persona. And that goes back to make sure that you have the right data for each one of them. But you can use, instead of just putting every single demographic criteria in, you can just select a persona, and then you can base the engagement level based on the HubSpot score on the Thalox engagement score, right? So instead of manually choosing and thinking, okay, what are the properties that are important for me to define a good engaged lead? Is it 4 website visits in 1 month? What is it, right? So if you have to think about that every time, I mean, it will be super time consuming, and you have to always think about the amount of campaigns that you are doing, and it will never be so accurate as something that can really process the data easily, right? So that's why the engagement score of Thalox can cover that up for you. And you can as well, of course, use the HubSpot score or any other implicit criteria. I think, and my favorite way to do this is really to always mix the profile with the engagement level, because then I have all my campaign managers with high engagement in one list. And I have all my chief marketing officers, which are inactive, in another list. That's the next list here. So there are marketing qualified leads, but their engagement level is super, super low. And I met them in an event. So I have at least a context, and I can re-engage with them. Look, I don't know if you remember me. I saw you in an event, blah, blah, blah. So, but at least I have the profile and the engagement level, and I can target them based on those two important things. And that's the best and my favorite way to segment. Now, after, again, you have captured your data, you have segmented based on profile and also on engagement, the next thing you want to do is to nurture those leads, right? You have to give them resources and content that help them really across all stages of their customer journey to make that decision to finally buy and hear what you have to say. So one of the examples that I bring you today here is a simple workflow to nurture MQLs to make them ready for sales, right? So what I have here is lifecycle stage is any of marketing qualified lead. And again, I'm saying, okay, I want all my marketing qualified leads that are highly engaging with my content. And based on that, I'm sending different types of messages to different people. And you can see next that I have branch, which I'm choosing the persona. So again, I have my highly engaged marketing qualified leads. They are marketing managers and also chief marketing officers. A chief marketing officer and a marketing manager have different problems. Okay, so the content that I need to give them to, so maybe a marketing manager is struggling with having more time, for creativity or something like that. A CMO is probably thinking about costs and how to save more money, right? So I can kind of adapt my product and my service to their need and their challenge. So again, I have my marketing qualified leads, highly engaged, and then I have content targeted to my marketing managers and to my CMOs. Let's say those are my two main personas. And then based on that, of course, you can create a sequence with tons of different emails. But this is something that, and I can tell you firsthand that really, really work. And this is really simple and straightforward. Kind of following the same idea, you can have as well the same for re-engaging inactive people. So let's say they have leads which are super inactive. So first of all, they are leads. So they haven't been, either we don't have the right data or for some reason they haven't been qualified, right? So they are we just have an email address pretty much. On top of that, they are inactive. Okay, so I don't really want to delete them right away because maybe there's a chance. But what can I do is like doing a re-engagement to try to trigger something from them, to trigger some action, see if they click, see if they open my emails. And then based on that, if they still, after a certain amount of time, if they are still with an engagement score, which is super, super, super low, I can definitely, consider to delete them. And I know a lot of people are a bit afraid to delete contacts. You can as well mark as non-marketing contacts. You can put them in a workflow and decide to delete or not. But honestly, you shouldn't not have contacts who are just, they have no value for your business. They are just there. You're paying for them. So at least mark them as non-marketing, but do something because, those people are taking space in your database and that's not happening, helping anyone. So that's like an example of a nurture, but this time you're kind of trying to nurture or re-engaging inactive people. And this all starts with segmenting. In this case, we are segmenting based on life cycle stage and again, engagement level. That's super important. So when we have the right data, when we know how to segment properly, when we have the right content to send to them, in nurture campaigns. Now we have, I would say, the three main topics or elements which are essential to bring them to the next stage, which is to get them ready for sales. And this is as well something that I feel like a lot of times marketing people have problems with that because also that really comes to the fact that they are just not aligned with their sales team. They don't have any clue what kind of information is necessary to define a marketing qualified lead or a sales qualified lead. So really sometimes the problem starts there. But once you have that, you really have to focus on the data. You need to tell sales, look, those are the mandatory fields that you have to fill every time you're creating a new contact. Otherwise, this contact will never be qualified, will never reach your table again. So of course, there are some nuances for that. It really depends on your use case. But I cannot stress this enough. Data is the main point. Without that, your segments are no good. Without that, there's no really effect lead management. And it all starts in marketing with the lead generation, which is usually where you capture your data and along the way. So about the lead handoff, of course, you can always as well rely back to the segments with this. And this is really just an example, right? Usually it's much more complex than this, but you can have a trigger where you have all your marketing qualified leads within a certain segment, which is again, focusing on your profile, your ideal customer profile with usually a high engagement, right? So, okay, I have all my marketing qualified leads. I know they match my ideal customer profile. I have all the data necessary and they are highly engaged with marketing. So I don't need anything else. I just need sales to tell me, okay, this is a good lead. I call them, they have the budget, they have the authority, the need, the timeline, all that. I'm ready to, create a lead, and then hopefully an opportunity and manage deal stages, right? So what I have here is just very, very simple. You just send a task saying hot lead, and then based on that, it really depends on your use case. Then you start really to manage lead status, as you know. So if the status is unqualified, then it probably goes back to marketing, and then marketing needs to re-engage or find out why this person was qualifying, but after all, they are not ready. It could be that it's just really down to the band criteria, as I said, like the budget or something. But it might be that, marketing did a mistake, and this is not even a chief marketing officer. They are like a social media manager or something. This is not our target audience. So okay, if I did that mistake, something must be wrong with my persona, something must be wrong with my segmentation. So it's always like a learning process, right? As the key learnings here, I want to go back to the storyline that I mentioned across this presentation. So again, first of all, capture data. You have contact forms, offline events, especially for salespeople, and data enrichment. Again, make sure always that you have defined all the mandatory properties or fields or data which are necessary to qualify your leads. And you need to have that in the system. Otherwise, you will be lost and your segmentations will not be working because those people will never qualify because they don't match the criteria. And you might think they do, but they don't. Then segment always based not only on the profile, but as well on how engaged they are. And based on how engaged they are, you can then create targeted campaigns for them because they are not in the same customer journey or in the same phase of the customer journey. I mean, right? So someone which is inactive, they need to know more about your company. They need to be more educated about what you're doing because they don't know, right? Someone who's highly engaged, they are more ready to make that decision. You can send them, okay, just, schedule a call. I mean, you're super engaged, you know what we're doing, you're clicking, you're reading, just schedule a call. So the approach is different. So don't scare them away by sending them the wrong content. And you can, really rely on the HubSpot is really great to log the implicit criteria. You can rely on your manual scoring, or you can rely on predictive scoring, which is predicting the likelihood to engage, and that's the integration that you can do with Thalox. So again, nurturing, delivering the right content to the right person, that's the main thing. So you can really kind of develop them into being more and more engaged or not. I mean, if you find that those are, being inactive, again, you have to see what kind of things we need to do to trigger their engagement again, or do we need to delete them because they are not qualifying anymore? And finally, hand off to sales. Everything here is important to make sure that the bottom line is that you're using segmentation to trigger your marketing efforts and to make them more efficient, and also to finally send the best ones to sales so you can convert and be happy about your job, because if sales is happy, then marketing is happy. I'm in the marketing side, by the way. So yeah, I guess that's it. So I don't know, Rick, back to you. Do you have some questions?
Fantastic. Can you jump on the next slide for me? I just want to make a quick comment. So everybody, this is it for the lesson, but if you guys do have questions, we're going to do a little bit of a Q&A right now. However, we also have our Slack community, which Lisa is a part of, and same as Laura. So if you guys have questions for them, by all means, scan the QR code, hop on there with us. We have them